quarterback and tight end rankings, Week 8, presented by UrbanandM.com. Writing this on Thursday night for Friday's video. Expect more videos later every week for the other unit groupings like wide receiver, running back, waivers, defense. Click the playlist in the top right. So they're all there. All right, you won't miss them. And if you're new here, this is where I take industry-leading data, Vegas sportsbooks, and expert analysis to provide you with optimal weekly rankings for the utmost accuracy in setting your weekly lineups. There's a ton of buys. It's ugly this week. Quarterback S tier is 260 yards or more. A tier is the 250s, B's the 240s, C's the 230s, and D's the rest, 220 yards or less. Let's not delay. Mahomes, Hurts, Lamar, and Allen. Look, the whole gang is back. Isn't this cute? Mahomes, 300 over-under. Is that the first time this season for anyone? I don't know. Maybe not. That's a hell of an over-under, though. 300 over-under, 281 yards per game, 2.6 touchdowns per game. Versus Washington's 25th worst secondary. Jalen Hurts, 241 over-under, 240 yards per game, 2.3 touchdowns per game. Versus the Giants, 26th secondary. So, looking pretty good there. Lamar Jackson, 255, 259 yards per game, 2.8 tutties per game. The touchdown king, the original, keep it and rush it in himself, Lord, returns against Chicago 17th. Oh boy. And Josh Allen, the humble white man, 255 over under, 275 yards per game, 2.3 touchdowns per game versus Carolina's 10th best. They throw, they run the most. They always score more than 2 touchdowns per game, often with their own legs. They're easily the top fantasy quarterbacks for Week 8. A tiers for the rest of the elite quarterbacks, set for about 250 to 260 yards. There's 5, and they all score 2 touchdowns per game. We'll kick it off with Nix and Prescott. Their opponents this week, and Dallas doesn't defend against the pass. They just don't, okay? They allow 260 yards passing per game, regardless of opponent. The matchup and Broncos defense allow Nix to be at 5 this week rather than the 9th spot. 257 over-under, 247 yards per game, 2 tutties. Don't get it twisted. That's still really good. I'm just trying to illustrate how important the matchup is. Dickie Dak, 255 over-under, 269 yards per game, and a massive 2.4 tutties per game. But the Broncos secondary should make that challenging. They're the 6th best, and if you think that doesn't matter much, well, the Broncos are set to beat the number 2 Cowboys offense, 27-24. Still a good match, but not quite what you might think. At 7 and 8, it's Indianapolis Jones and Baker, the touchdown maker. 256 yards per game for Jones, 2 touchdowns per game. 261 over-under for Baker, 1.9 touchdowns per game. The Colts face the Titans' 14th back 7, and they're set to win by 15 points. The Bucs are in division, away, facing the Saints, 12th best, still expected to win, but by 4 points. You know, a normal spread. Pretty good. It just doesn't sound as impressive next to Long Neck Jones. And last but not least, Draco Drizzy Maye. 248 over-under, 278 yards per game, and 2 tutties. Based off of the stats alone, he should be at the 5 spot. But he takes the end of A tier this week because he faces the Browns' 3rd best secondary and number 1 against total yards per game defense. Don't worry, Pats are still set to win 24-17. That is your top 9 quarterbacks for Week 8. Let's keep it rolling. It's B tier. And at 10, it's UrbanandM.com. UrbanandM.com is my company my best friend and I started in 2020. We literally make everything ourselves by hand. We have earrings, rings, necklaces, bracelets, tie clips, apparel, and more. Over a dozen curated gemstones and 100 handcrafted products. If you need a gift or something special for yourself, use the promo code in the description. Find something you love. Buy it today. Back to the video. If you like spending money and looking good, shop at my store. www.evertonm.com. You can buy this hat, you can buy this shirt, you can buy jewelry, you can buy a bunch of handmade stuff. But if you don't like handmade things shipped out from 2 local artisans in North Carolina, you hate yourself, you hate me, then just subscribe. It's free. All right, B tier, 240 yards to 250 yards, and not quite 2 touchdowns. Let's discuss 10, and let's discuss 11. First, it's Jordan Love and Caleb Williams. They're both projected 238 to 235 passing yards. They both get 1.7, 1.8 touchdowns. Love gets to throw against the Steelers' 31st worst, and Williams gets to toss against the Ravens' 28th worst. So it's extremely similar. The difference is the Steelers should lose to Green Bay by about 3 points at least, while Caleb and the Bears are expected to lose by 6. So it sounds like a lot of football throwing to me, regardless, which is why it doesn't matter. Jaxson Dart is at 12. His line is set at 235, and it's been 242 yards per game. And he scores the same 1.7 tutties that Love and Williams do. Way too hard on the young, weird, dancing boy. And while it would certainly be very Eli Manning v. Tom Brady to beat the Super Bowl champs again, they're expected to lose this week, surprise, by 7.5 points. 26-19, Giants lose to Mr. Hurts. So, wishful thinking. He's good for fantasy. But the Giants are going to get mollywopped. And listen, if your man's not named yet and you're thinking it's going to get better somehow, well, that doesn't make sense. Cue up Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco at 13 and 14 to throw 2.3 touchdowns per game and 2.5 touchdowns per game, showing these little dancing sissy boys how men play football. Okay? I'm just kidding. But it is impressive that they're averaging that many touchdowns. That's literally S-tier elite numbers right there. Which brings us to why they aren't elite, and that's the 220 over-under passing line for Rodgers and the 244 over-under passing line for Flacco. I mean, Rodgers gets the softer game facing the Packers' league average secondary, set to lose by 3. It's not bad. And Flacco faces the visiting Giants' 9th best secondary, set to win by nearly 7 points. So there's a world in which both of these quarterbacks have a week like last week, right? When they faced each other. But for Rodgers, that's about a 2 out of 7 chance, 28%. And for Flacco, it's 14%. So, GL. All right, last call. It's 230 yards in C tier. And basically, only the worst offenses remain. There's 5 left. All right, and let's just lay them out and we'll cry and we'll moan together. CJ Stroud, McCorkle Jones, Spencer Rattler, Michael, don't call him penis, and Marcus Mariota, who I forgot still existed. And listen, nobody is impressed with Stroud's 242 passing yards per game and 1.5 touchdowns, nor Mac Jones and his 1.2 touchdowns in spite of 281 yards per game. You want to be impressed. You want to be entertained. This is not the game. This game between these two, Houston's 5th best defense, is about to look like Seattle did against themselves last week. This is going to be a horrible, low-scoring game, grinding defensive game. 22-20, Texans beat the Niners. It's gross, okay? This is a running back IDP/kicker, fantasy game. That's what this is. I know. And it continues with the Saints and Spencer Rattler, 230 yards per game, 1.1 touchdowns per game. And you guessed it, it's the 29th worst scoring offense and 27th most points allowed going against Tampa's 13th best, okay? You think they're going to win? Nope, they're losing big time. Michael Penix is next at 18, and he faces the only team he could be projected to win by 7 points, and that's facing the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins fans, I'm sorry. Shout out Notorious Fantasy. Nick, I love you, brother, and there aren't any words, to be frank. If he wasn't going to pass against the Dolphins' 11th best back 7, we all know it wouldn't matter because the Falcons' plan is for the center to hike it to Penix, and Penix hands it off to Bijan Robinson. Okay, that's the plan. And if somehow you find yourself deciding between Andy Dalton, Cam Ward, Tua, maybe Tyrod Taylor, just slot in Marcus Mariota. Okay, it literally can't get any worse. There's no floor. You're in a floorless space. You're wading ocean water right now, okay, at this point. Your best chance is an actual miracle. All right. It's 224 over under for Marcus, 1.8 tutties in his last game, and have him in your thoughts and prayers. Facing the Chiefs, 4th best, set to have his name erased from history by 13 points. Still better than Cam Ward and the Titans. That's just the truth. Here's the rest. It's less than 220. I wouldn't start him. Andy Dalton, Cam Ward, Tyrod Taylor, Justin, I don't know, Dillon Gabriel. We'll recap screenshots at the end. Let's do tight ends. We've got about 11 tight ends with respectable starts. But S tier is 60 yards, and there's 3. Tyler Warren, Tucker Kraft, and listen, if you want to set him, go ahead. But it's George Kittle. Okay, Tyler Warren, 58 over under, 63 yards per game on 6 targets, and a tutty 60% of the time. Tucker Kraft, 53 over under, 54 yards per game on 5 targets, and he scores 70% of the time. And George Kittle, he needs no introduction. 54 over under, and just look at the Viking. That's your top 3 tight ends for week 8. A tiers for more elite tight ends projected for about 50 yards. There's 5 of them. It's Jake Ferguson, 48 over under, 48 yards per game, 8 targets per game, and he scores 90% of the time. It's the Broncos secondary this week, so that's not great, but Dak could really use a large receiving body in the red zone this week. Dallas Goedert is next, 44 yards per game and 6 targets and a touchdown 80% of the time. Hallelujah. They rematch the Giants this week. And I don't know if you saw, but Goedert played them in week 6, and he caught 9 balls for 110 yards. So, it's pretty good. And we'll go back-to-back with Kelce and Kincaid. This is assuming that Kincaid actually plays. This assumes that he's 100% healthy, which is probably not going to be the case. Kelce is set for 43 with 54 yards per game on 6 targets. Kincaid's is 38 over under in spite of 57 yards per game on 5 targets. So they're extremely similar in their performance and scheme. Kincaid has just missed multiple practices, have them limited practices, and that's not what you want to hear at all. And we'll close A with K. Dotton. Only 39 over under, 33 yards per game, but it's been 66 yards per game in his last 3 games and 7 targets in those 3 games. Basically, since when? Since all those injuries occurred. So he's been remembered, and honestly, I think they're better for it. Who knows if they'll keep scheming him this way and if Baker will keep looking at him as they get healthier. I don't know. I'd rather start 8 fantasy points with a possibility of 16 over starting, 9 fantasy points and the possibility of 3. You feel me? Let's go to B tier. We've just got 5 more before you're totally cooked. It's about 40 yards and 5 targets if you're lucky. Kyle Pitts, 48 yards per game on 6 targets. He scores pretty much never. Zach Ertz, 33 yards per game, but he does score 60% of the time on 5 targets. And we all know who's a quarterback's best friend is. Let me tell you. It'll be Marcus Mariota. And Marcus Mariota will be needing a friend. Will he be able to become friends with Zach Ertz? Who knows? Flip a coin. Hunter Henry, 44 yards per game and a touchdown 40% of the time on his 5 targets. Not bad. They just, I don't know. They just be throwing the ball. And Juwan Johnson with a neck injury, 45 yards per game and 6 targets. Basically, 0 scores. Bannon Jr., 41 yards per game, 6 targets. Basically, 0 scores. And that's how quickly it falls apart in fantasy. That's your top 13 tight ends for week 8. Between buys, injuries, lack of talent, it's a hellscape. All right? C tier is 30 to 40 yards. Maybe. And it's Dalton Schultz, 41 over under, 47 yards per game on 6 targets. Definitely the best out of the lot, but he's hurt. And they're getting crushed this week. Evan Ingram, 31 over under, 30 yards per game. I mean, it's a new environment, a little spicy every now and then. I mean, it's the same 5 targets and 20% touchdowns. I don't know. It remains to be seen. So we keep waiting, okay? Theo Johnson, 27 yards per game. Mark Andrews, 29 yards per game. Jonnu Smith, 20 yards per game. Hurt Mason Taylor. I mean, what are we talking about? They all suck. They're all losing. Okay, and if you're still searching, you're probably losing too. It's D tier. It's the rest. It's less than 30 yards. I wouldn't start him. But if you do, I would do it in this order. Chig, Fryermuth, Taysom, Fant, maybe Likely. That's your top quarterbacks. That's your top tight ends. Ask me questions down in the comments. Click the playlist to check the other ranking vids for week 8. And like and subscribe. Turn on the post notifications so you can see all the videos each week before you submit your lineups. It's free. So that's a really good value. But I like spending money on looking your best. Use the promo code SPENDITMI-STORE. And watch some more videos!
Hey.